Good morning. Good morning. What's up, folks? Happy election day. Hope you guys are excited to get out and vote today. Hope everybody's doing well. We've got a very interesting day and probably week ahead of us with how quickly or slowly we can expect these votes to be tallied. But please, please, please make sure that you get out, exercise your duty and right as an American citizen to vote in the presidential election. I highly encourage everybody get involved. We've got a chance to move forward in this country in the right direction, and I certainly hope all of you as voters seize on that opportunity and get out to the polls at some point today. So, with that being said, let's dig in. I hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, it's going to be a very interesting day market-wise today. Let me get my screens just slightly adjusted here so I can see both chats and all that stuff. Give me just 1 second. This ultra wide monitors is awesome, but sometimes you gotta like manually tweak things a little bit. So let me see if I can't get this right about there and there. There we go. All right, that looks better. All right, what's up, Navy Plum? Good morning to you. What's up, Casey? Good morning to you. Hope everybody's doing well. So let's dig in. Let's take a look at futures. Then we'll get to our trade plan recaps, and then we'll move on to working on some new trade plans as we make our way through what is certain to be a pretty chaotic week. Excuse me, for the markets, I am certain. All right, so with that being said, let's take a look at things with ES. We have broken below this 5,800 level and are back testing it as resistance now. We've been holding this demand zone underneath, which is, I would say, a good sign. It's a pretty large demand zone that we have down here, extending all the way down to essentially 5680. Exact number that I've got on my chart there is 5678.50. But trying to, what's up, Unknown Reviews? Good morning. How are you? Good to see you. Hope everything's going well. Hope you are planning to get out and vote today. So again, taking a look at ES, we're holding this demand zone. Again, I overall am expecting, pretty volatile sideways movement as we make our way through the day today. We might see things get a little bit more directional as we start to see some of these election results roll in. I'm not going to hypothesize on which, if the election seems to be trending one way or the other, which one is going to be most immediately beneficial to the markets. I think that that's really anybody's best guess. I wouldn't be surprised, and I would say historically we typically see, regardless of which candidate wins, there is a level of uncertainty that gets removed from the overall picture for the markets once the election starts to become a little more clear. So when that uncertainty gets kind of pulled back or taken out of the equation, we should and typically do see at the very least a short-term bounce and push higher in the markets. We'll probably see things pull back a little bit before we then can kind of plan for more directional plays from there. That would sort of be my overall anticipation for how the market's going to respond to the elections as a whole. But that being said, I think as long as we're below 5,800, we need to be a little bit cautious about getting, too overly exposed or overly leveraged to the long side. And I'd say, as long as we've got this demand zone just below, which again extends down to about 5678, I think we need to be a little bit careful about getting too aggressive about going short until that demand zone gets cleared out. I think there will still be some short-term opportunities within that range, but we'll have to kind of watch and see how that plays out and play those setups in the moment versus it being something that I think we can really kind of plan out in advance the way we normally would. So, long story short, keep your heads on a swivel, get out to the polls, make sure you cast your vote, let your voice be heard. Let's get this done. All right, so with that being said, let's get to some trade plan recaps. We did SMCI over the weekend, member selected tickers. This one hasn't given us a clear break of the call or the put side of things, so kind of stayed right within our range. Oh, you live outside the U.S.? Okay. I'd be curious to know, Unknown, if you were undecided for a long time. Did you tip one direction or the other, even though you can't cast your ballot, and what kind of tipped your hand one way or the other? And if you don't want to share, that's totally fine. I understand for a lot of folks, voting can be a very private thing. Looking at SMCI again, this one has made the long steep fall from grace after really pumping pretty hard alongside names like Nvidia, etc. But again, still ultimately within our range, hasn't seen a really strong break of the call side or the put side of the plan. We are butting right up against that call entry there at 2740, but it has yet to truly break and give way. So SMCI still kind of sitting on the sidelines, sitting on the fence, if you will. SMCI still quote unquote undecided to use a voting term, but looks like it wants to try to make a push for the upside here. So keep an eye on it, especially over 2740. It starts to get really interesting. The other thing I'd say is with where this is at the share, from a share price perspective, I think that shares also become very attractive. It's going to be a very high IV ticker, so should be able to collect some really nice premiums if you decide to sell options contracts against any equity positions that you build up. But again, overall SMCI so far, kind of nothing to really see here as of yet. Still waiting for a confirmed break of the call or the put entry. Same thing with Apple. Apple held support yesterday and continues to kind of move sideways within our range between 220.30 and 223.81. So again, this is another one where it's kind of just wait and see mode, which again, I don't think is all of that surprising, again, given that we have the election today and results kind of developing and the picture becoming clear as we move through the week this week. Lilly, we have here Eli Lilly. This one does look like it's trying to break down. It did reject that stop loss average down level from our plan. Yesterday was pretty close to the high of day yesterday. It's now pushing lower and closer to some of these support levels. It's holding just above that key support at 805.42 here pre-market. But again, it does look like it's continuing to make lower highs and even printing some, I would call that a double bottom, not really a lower low. So that's kind of interesting, right? We've got a sort of a double bottom setup potentially, but overall making lower highs. And with the SMAs kind of situated where they are, I would say that this looks still kind of bearish or leaning toward bearish momentum still at the moment. But again, another one where we still haven't really seen a confirmed break during the cash trading session. Again, these plans we just did and posted Sunday. Gosh, forgot that we've already had one day pass this week. Posted Sunday evening in the options watch list based on everybody's votes and feedback on the member selected trade plans Google form that I post every Friday as we wrap up the week, so we can think about some plans that we want to analyze and put together for the week to come. Spotify, this one we did on Thursday's live stream. We did this one together. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. I was just here going over some trade plan recaps and encouraging all of our friends and viewers out there to make sure that they take some time today to get out to the polls and vote. Let your voice be heard. It's important to exercise that democratic freedom that we're fortunate enough to have here in this country still. So with that being said, Spot, yeah, sure, makes perfect sense. Unknown reviews. So we are looking at Spot now. This one has broken down, is moving to the downside, has back tested the put entry level there, really clean back test It's ultimately pushed it down yesterday, getting very close to PT2. A little bit of back testing of PT1 here, potentially pre-market. These little kind of phantom candles can't be relied upon all that much, so I wouldn't get too invested into where those are kind of popping up on the chart. But overall, pushing to the downside and showing some resistance near that 382.85. So this one might continue to play out to the downside and could be shooting for PT3 down there at 369.23. But overall, again, that back test entry there on Friday, great opportunity, great setup to push things to the downside for Spotify and our trade plan on it. McDonald's, of course, we all know about their little E. coli issue with the onions on their quarter pounders. This one's still trying to recover from that. This is that, well, that was earnings report. This was I think the dip right before the earnings report, I believe. But anyway, that earnings report dropped them. It recovered pretty quickly and has kind of since consolidated within this overall range of where the prices hit during that earnings report. What's up, Kronos? Buenos dias. Good morning to you. Buy more. Yeah, actually, we were traveling over the weekend in some more remote parts of the state over the weekend, and essentially a place where there's just like not really good food options outside of fast food, and so we had to stop somewhere, and the options were so sparse, I guess is probably the best way to say it, that McDonald's is what we landed on, and of course we both ordered quarter pounders, and I was like, do I tell her, do I not tell her? And I was like, nah, they probably already figured it out and gotten all the bad onions out of the mix. Hey babe, like, just FYI, McDonald's did just have an E. coli issue here pretty recently. I did, Chris, but I lived. Nothing bad happened, so I was willing to test the waters, tempt fate, whatever you want to call it, with that quarter pounder. But it's been so long since I've had McDonald's. I generally try to stay away from fast food as a rule of thumb. But McDonald's just has those fries, man. Those fries are so good. Yeah, 8 a quarter pounder. I should get a t-shirt, shouldn't I? So yeah, McDonald's again kind of looking good, moving sideways a little bit, but wants to break over 295.72 by the looks of it, holding above the stop loss average down level there at 290.72. So let's keep this one on watch still for a potential confirmed break and push higher over 295.72 if McDonald's decides to start making some moves. All right, last but not least, we got QQQ, and then we will get to microwave the crap out of it. Honestly, if you microwave the crap out of it, it probably wouldn't make any difference to the quality of the I guess we'll call it burger, whatever that's made out of. QQQ, we also did on Thursday's live stream. This one opened that morning, dropped right down through our put entry level down to PT1, back tested that as some resistance, pushed down, got very close to PT2 before closing out the day. Seems to be trying to recover a little bit, but now has the SMAs catching up here, 200 below the 333 here on the 15-minute, still kind of trending overall to the downside. So QQQ looking a little bit bearish at the moment unless it can reclaim 489.46. Very interesting confluence up there at 491.56 with that 333 SMA and that key level from our plan sitting at the same spot at the same time. Could be an interesting spot to look for rejections to possibly play for a quick downside move. All right, so with that being said, those are our trade plan reviews. Let's get to some new trade plans. I see unknown reviews in here bright and early, looking for a trade plan on IWM. So let's start with that. If you guys have any others, please go ahead and drop those in the chats, whether you're in the Xtrades Discord or following along on YouTube. I'm paying attention to both chats as best I can. So please jump in, give me your input, let me know what you want me to take a look at, and we'll get some trade plans done for you guys here this morning on the live stream. All right, let's see. IWM actually running right through some existing trade plan levels. So let's take a quick look at this. When did we do this trade plan? That's kind of my next question. Looks like we did this one on Thursday, September the 19th. It was probably a live stream trade plan. It's been kind of sideways since then. Keeps dipping down below this put entry, but not really quite ever making it to PT1. I've seen that a couple of times. So clearly I had PT1 a little bit too aggressive as far as how far down we might see that move go on IWM below that 219.69 level. Well, let's get to it. Let's put a new plan together. I don't need to focus too much on the old trade plan, and clearly I think that old trade plan needs a little bit of work anyway. So let's just clean this up real quick. Also got some old fib extensions from that plan, it looks like. We'll see how relevant those become to our trade planning. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. When in doubt, zoom out, right? This gap is filled. All right, so where do we want to try to make a move on IWM? That is the question. I'm somewhat interested or intrigued by this 221.67 level if we can break above it. I do see some real possibility for rejections though until it breaks over 222.71. So I think we're going to use this as our call entry. I think that pretty clearly gives us a stop loss down here at 221.12. My only question is, do we want to set a first target somewhere around this level? Let's go back a little bit now that I've got that marked. Yeah, it's a really interesting area of resistances kind of in this whole range between 223.84 and that 221.12. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of other... Here we go. That's kind of what I was looking for. Yeah, I think we've got a level right around here at 224.96. You could probably call it 225 even. It's got us a little high on this rejection right there, but one rejection doesn't make a support and resistance level, so I do see support and resistance back here, and this does look like the stronger level going back a little bit. So I'm going to stick with that 224.96 first price target. Second target, certainly eyeballing this 227.39 range. That rejection came a little bit before that. Let's take a look back here. That's probably the end of any price action we're going to see up in this range. Yeah. Feel pretty confident that that's going to be the case. So let's see. Tesla and NVIDIA. Okay, Jax, we'll see if we can't take a look at those. I've seen HIMS and SPY. Okay. SPY will do the SPY plan for. So let's, I'll get that one into the options watch list in our Discord, as I do every day, for executing the daily SPY plan. Again, this is kind of based on fairly thin price action and data, but I think there's going to be something up here that we're going to want to pay attention to as far as a second price target there at 227.44. So then the question becomes, if we can break that, what are we looking for? I mean, really, we're back at all-time highs then, right? 228, yeah. I don't, I know it's a tight PT1 and PT2, but I mean, until we break that all-time high, I think it's going to be pretty solid resistance. So I don't want to start shooting for fib extensions until that's out of the way. So I know it kind of makes the moves a little bit, kind of like a, two decent sized moves and then a pretty small one. But honestly, that's just the smart way to plan this, in my opinion. So, we got to let the charts do the talking, even though I think we'll probably break through that all-time high if we test it again. Until I see that happen, I don't want to put money on that, right? So we'll stick with that where it is at 228.63, essentially a retest of all-time highs. If we can break over those first two price targets and keep pushing. All right, so downside, where does that start to get interesting? I mean, I could make an argument for going short below this 219.69 level. I think that gives us a decent first price target at that weekly support there at 217.80. We've tested that a few times recently. Below that, yeah, I think we're shooting in this 216.31. That's just a placeholder line, so I might have been fishing for something that wasn't really there yet, but this does look like a good level right there at 216.01. I would definitely want that to be my second price target. Third target's potentially sitting somewhere around here, 214.58. Let's see though. Could be lower, actually, the more I look at this. This level, I think, is just a tad higher, like right there. And I think that makes for a good third price target. So we've got our three targets. We've got our stop loss average down level. We've got our call and put entries. We've got all the things we need for a nice IWM trade plan. So let's go. Let's talk about it. Let me put this chart together for y'all. Oh, let's also check the indicators, make sure. Yeah, if anything, we've got some confluences that kind of bolster the case that we've made for some of these targets being where we've got them. So, with that being said, let's go. Let's get through this. Copy link. And you know what? I'm going to start putting these in the options watch list. We'll do the updates in the elite chat. That's what I'm going to do. All right, so what are we looking for on IWM per our live stream plan that we just did together this morning? We're looking for a break below 219.69. That should bring downside targets at 217.80, 216.01, and 214.04 with a stop loss average down at 221.12. To the upside, we're looking for a break above 222.71. That should give us targets at 224.96, 227.44, and then a tight move up to the third price target there at 228.63 with a stop loss average down shared with the downside trade plan there at 221.12. Those are your IWM live stream plans. Go get them. All right, we had that from Unknown Reviews. Thank you very much for the ticker request, my friend. Let's take a look at, I saw Nick in here with hymns. Let's take a look at hymns. Hymns is one that I'm familiar with, but clearly have not really charted or traded that much. Wow. Assuming these trading view numbers for their earnings report are accurate, Nice surprise beat there on the earnings. 311%. Hasn't really caused a major move for the stock price. I mean, it definitely got a nice little move up overnight, but nothing tremendous. I mean, 6% is fairly reasonable move, especially given that number. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's zoom out for a second. Start from here. Yeah, I think we've got a weekly level sitting right in here. That's interesting. That's a nice little gap. It did get tested as support afterward. Interesting resistance up here, but not clearly a support and resistance level, so we'll wait on that. Well, hang on. We got some... I don't think that helps our case any, but I didn't realize we had any kind of price action up in this range prior. There is something sitting right about here, though, that looks like a pretty good weekly level. Yeah, I think we've got something hanging out right around here as well. I think that's probably good as far as weekly levels go. So let's start to get into these daily levels. I do want to check this placeholder. That's interesting. Some nice rejections. Yeah, there's some support. Yep, that's definitely a daily level. Kind of what I was expecting to see, but you never know. Sometimes you got to get a little more into the weeds of what's happening inside these higher time frame candles. And that's an interesting level. Sorry, this one might be a little bit slower than the IWM plan just because I need to kind of find these bigger picture key levels first. Yeah, I think we've got something here. What's up, BGN? Good morning to you as well. And you're very welcome, Unknown Review. Sorry, I was just catching up on the chats there for a sec. Now, the only question or other question I have is, does this... Yeah, clearly a pretty solid double top, all-time high resistance around this 2543 level. Do we have another daily level in here is my only other question. Yeah, it's a little iffy, but I think it's there. All right, so let's get to the hourly chart. Whoops. Let's kind of fast forward this process a little bit. And let's throw our indicators back on. So what are we looking for on hims and hers? Hims. All right, sorry, got a little in my own head there for a second about some of these levels I'm spotting. All right, so the question is really, do we have a good shot at pushing for a decent upside move over 23.54? Let's go back to this, and this is going to take us like all the way back, but let's see. Whoops. I'm going to hide these indicators for a second. Yeah, I think we've got a shot. This is what I'm looking at. Stop loss is probably has a little bit more room. Actually down to here. So that's going to be pretty much a 1-to-1 risk reward, taking us up to our first price target, second price target. I think we would be foolish to not look to scale some out at this double top all-time high. So then the question becomes, what do we shoot for over that? We have had a print slightly higher. So I do want to mark this off, but I think that 25.43 level is really the key resistance there. Looks like we had a pretty decent trend. Base there or there? That's the question. Yeah, that cuts a little too close. So pretty close to that weekly level. Could also have this weekly level a little bit higher, a little bit low. It's a little bit high, actually. I think it sits more like right there, maybe just a little bit higher. Sorry. I know I'm like really splitting hairs there, but accuracy is key. So with that in mind, I think our fib extension's gonna wind up looking like this. Which gives us a first target right about here. Well, third target for our plan. First fib extension target at this 0.382, 2638 level. So that's the upside figured out. Downside, definitely looks interesting below. Yeah, below this weekly level. Who's calling you? Tell him to back off, Chris. Show him what's up. This level, do I have it a little high right now? Yeah, I think I do. I think it's just barely down there. Again, going to be kind of a pretty close to 1-to-1 risk reward. They're getting to PT2. Second price target pretty clearly. Sitting there at 1876. Below that, I don't know if we're shooting for that weekly level or if it needs to be just a tad higher. Like right here, I think. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah. I like that. I mean, we're probably splitting hairs a little bit there between 1731 and 1775, but it's just where I think the target needs to be. All right, so let's take a look at our HIMS trade plans, and then I think we've got time for one more before I've got to go do the daily SPY plan. Probably be able to get to one of these for, I think it was Jackson. All right, so, whoops, copy link. Here we go. Yeah, the nerve. How dare they? Do you ever use Zendu Live? I've never even heard of Zendu Live Scanner, Kronos. So, do you want to share a little bit about it? I'm not familiar with it. Watch list. Get this posted here. All right, so what are we looking for on HIMS and HERS? HIMS, which is like I think it's like a mail order, like pharmaceutical company, kind of. Like I think they do like hair growth and stuff like that. Telehealth consult. Yeah. Okay. So, what are we looking for here on HIMS as far as our trade plan goes? We're looking for a break above 2354 to play for upside. That should give us targets at 2457, 2543, and 2638 with a stop loss average down at 2254. So essentially like a dollar going either direction, really. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 2091. We've got a nice confluence there that if we break below that, I certainly would anticipate more downside to play out. That would give us targets at 1978, 1876, and 1775 with a stop loss average down at 2203. Those are your HIMS trade plans. Let's go. All right, last but not least, Tesla, Nvidia for JAX. Let's take a look at both of these. We'll see which one kind of looks better. Let's go with Tesla. All right, so where is the call entry at? This is an interesting level. I don't have it marked currently. I wonder if it's a shift of an existing level versus a new level. Yeah, this looks like it should be a bit... Whoops, that's not what I was trying to move. Take a look at this back here. Actually, that's kind of where I was seeing it. Yeah, this does... Or does this... No, I think it's here. Yeah. I think it sits right about there. And I think... Yeah, I think we got our first target sitting right about there. Second target... It's an interesting rejection there. 256. It's also very close to the top of that sell pressure flag on Neptune, which also kind of has my attention. Yeah, let's go with 256.10. I know it's a new level that I'm adding. Then over that, it could stretch up for that 259.51, but I think I'm going to leave that third price target where we had a target from that previous trade plan there at 258.39. It just looks a little bit more solid to me versus going for that little bit more up to 259.51. Stop loss average down for this trade plan. Let's see. It's kind of eyeballing a little bit lower than where that previous trade plan was. Yeah, like right about in here. Man, Tesla's got a lot of these little tightly grouped levels. But I think it's sitting right about here. Actually, let's do this. I want to pay attention to this level because I'm a little bit on the fence about it, but I think it gives us an appropriate amount, just that little bit of extra wiggle room that I think could be important in not getting shaken out of a trade. So I want to use it. So that's the upside trade plan. Downside. Yeah, I think the downside trade plan actually looks pretty good if we stick with our previous, at least the previous put entry level. I would make an adjustment, well, a couple of adjustments. As far as having the stop loss there at 246.54. First target, I would also move that a little bit closer based on this recent bounce. Let me just check that, make sure it's accurate where I want it to be. Or is it a little bit lower? Yeah, I like that right where it is. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, it's right about a 1-to-1 risk reward on that downside plan. Second price target, third price target's definitely staying there with that 333 sitting right there. Second target, I don't think it's here. I think it's a level or a couple levels lower. I think it sits more like right. Could even be a little bit higher than that, couldn't it? And it's probably close to this level, which I think needs just a tiny little bit of an adjustment. So we're going to call it right there, 240.10, and then we'll leave our third price target in place from that previous trade plan there at 238. What is that, 06? Yeah, 238.06. Okay, so these are our Tesla live stream plans. This will also be a very interesting one to see how it responds to the election results as they trickle in. Let's just check this real quick. Yeah, right at a 1-to-1 risk reward there. So be a little bit cautious on the entry there for the downside trade plan. Okay, let's go. Whoops, I keep doing that. Copy link is what I really want. So here are the Tesla live stream plans. All right. So what are we looking for here on Tesla? We're looking for a break over 249.74. That should give us targets at, why does that not look right? Is that our first target? Yeah, it is. Sorry, it's a big move, but is what it is. So we're looking for a break over 249.74. That should give us a first target at 254.01. Next target at 256.10. Third price target for the upside, 258.39, with a stop loss average down at 247.83. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 245.35. That should give us targets at 242.12, 240.10, and then 238.06 with a stop loss average down at 246.54. You know what I'm going to do, because this has a lot of levels in the mix. Let's post this again, but slightly cleaner chart, just so it's easy for you guys to see. Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if I've done this before. All right, let's go. Did we miss a level there? We did. There we go. That looks better. So here's another chart. Same thing. Nothing's changed. Just a little bit easier to pick out the levels. So I'll post this right along with the existing chart. And also in the morning live stream for you all. Okay, so or I think we just went over the Tesla levels in the trade plan. Sorry, that was just me reposting the levels in a little bit more of a cleaner format. So with that being said, we're going to call it a live stream for this morning, November 5th, Tuesday, election day. Again, please make sure to get out and exercise your right to vote, folks. Take the time to do it. It's important that everybody's voice is heard in this election. Could be one of the more important elections in our lifetimes that may shape the future of this country, not only in the near term, but in the long term as well. So make sure that you get out there, let it be known who you want to see leading us forward into the future. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me. As always, we will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Will be a very interesting live stream then as well. We will start to have some of the election results rolling in. We may even know who the presumptive president-elect might be at that point, but that certainly remains to be seen. There's going to be a lot to sort through with this election. So with that being said, again, thank you all for joining me this morning. I hope you'll come back on Thursday morning. With that, as we always say here on the FOMO live stream, plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there, get some green, keep your wins big, keep your losses small. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Get out there and vote, vote, vote. I'm going to put the SPY plan in the options watch list here momentarily, and I will see you all in the chats. Hope you have a fantastic day. Take care.